Good evening, folks. Feels so good to be back. Finally, I think I took a longer break than I ideally wanted, and that's because I had quite a lot of work over the last couple of weekends. Last week I was in Madras, and before that we had quite a lot of stuff to do at work, particularly on the weekends, and I didn't have uh, the time and the preparation that is required to do a reasonable podcast, or more or less the mental. Uh, Relaxation that you need to prepare wasn't just there, and things got delayed. Sorry about that, but yeah, I today I took off from work, and I thought, okay, a little bit recuperate from all the travel and tiredness, and I thought we should do a uh, do a new topic today. So what I've chosen today is about egg freezing. Of course, I think most of you. I'll also tell you why I chose this. It was kind of circumstantial because I got into an argument with someone on Twitter. I'll share the screen and show you that part a little later. But then, in general, I thought we should probably open people's mind to have these kinds of discussions rather than brushing them under the carpet, so that people can make informed choices. I'm not for or against it. But in general, I thought we should discuss it so that the younger generation, the girls and women in their 20s, are well aware of the consequences of the actions that they are going to take. Great. So let's just start with what is egg freezing. Basic, again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to go deep into it. So from what I know, women are typically born with few million eggs. I think, let me see how much that is. It's about 6 to 7 million eggs, fetal stage, 20 weeks in the womb. At birth, they are left with about 1 to 2 million eggs. Let me actually share the screen so it's easier. Cool. So this is what you can see, I guess. And then we have at puberty 300,000 to 400,000. And then at 20s, the peak fertility, about 250K eggs remain. High quality eggs, best fertility window. That's what everyone says. Doctors would tell you the same thing. Third, at 30s, it's dropping drastically. 100,000 eggs remaining. Quality starts decreasing. Chances of chromosomal abnormalities also increase. At 35, it's like a steep fall, kind of off the cliff, and then at 40, you're pretty much extremely hard. So don't go by all those heroines and people from the cinema industry getting pregnant. It's pretty hard. Fine. So this is kind of the background on in terms of women's eggs and stuff. So every cycle, of course, women after I think after puberty they produce one egg in each cycle, and the healthiest one is of course stays alive, and then if you fertilize it, and then you can have a baby. So that's pretty much on the egg part. Now what happens is what's happening, right? And the percentage of people who are freezing their eggs, these women, of course, they do that, both in the US and India, has been increasing. So there's a tweet by a guy called Dilip, who's investing into probably the health sectors as part of Rain Matter. He had posted a message in Twitter that there's a 25% year on year increase. You share the screen and how this argument went. There's a 25% annual increase in women opting for egg freezing in India, etc. Genuine question for women. Of course, I'm not a woman, but I still got into it. Then there's a lady called, lady or a girl or a woman, Ash Aurora, partner at local Globe VC, Forbes under 30. She said the world is made for men by men. There's no consideration of, for women in this case, etc. You got to hustle at early stages in your career. Previous generations have showed us how taking maternity leaves leads to losing years of promotions. Best to read, wait senior management before having kids. So fair enough, yes, it does affect you a little bit. Men are hustling, and then it's hard to find people in their 20s who want to marry, etc. And egg freezing gives an option to prioritize work, wait for men your age to be ready to start a family. Of course, I obviously didn't agree with the first part, and I also didn't agree that with all of the things that I mentioned. But yeah, a few points she made is quite good. So in fact, I told her that this is just stopping short of a typical boss babe, strong independent narrative that people are taught. And I said, world is designed for both the sexes, right? It's obviously not designed only for men. It's kind of stupid. In fact, women are given higher priority in the world today, and even historically, their life and their continuity has been prioritized more compared to men. And men, honestly, are dispensable. We are needed for you to carry the child. Apart from that, we are pretty much dispensable in some forms. And I said this concept of delaying marriage due to career choices, for example, is a relatively new phenomenon. It's about, I think, 30, 40, 50 years old after the rise of, let's say, feminism from the 1960s and 70s. And but it's got a bit of, wind and storm, um, and good mileage over the last 10, 15 years. And then she immediately, rather than attacking my points, I think, what did I say? I said this, and then I said they start marrying late to focus on career, and by mid 30, it becomes that difficult to have children. The biological clock is ticking. That's what I said. The wall is real. We seem to find solutions to wrong and non existing problems and against nature. So I was just saying conceiving naturally is the best form. I understand that for whatever practical reasons you want to put it away. Now, what could be the ideal reasons? Right? Let's say you're unwell, you're going through some treatment, and there is a high chance that your, let's say, the quality of eggs could get affected due to some treatment, like maybe cancer, for example. In that case, you might want to, before undergoing a treatment, and if you want to obviously become a mother and on a biological baby, you might want to freeze those eggs for future use. Or you want to be a mother, you're in your 20s, maybe early 20s, mid 20s, late whatever, 20s or early 30s, and you haven't found the right partner. It happens to some people. Maybe you're doing a PhD, you're studying, you're focused on your career, but you didn't really find, and then you might want to just go through this process and freeze your exit. These are probably, of course, that means that you're focusing more on your career now, right? I mean, that's the, and again, you're going against a little bit of nature. And I said it's boon for exception cases, making it a norm defeats the purpose. Of course, that's my opinion. The process itself is very cumbersome, tiring, expensive, and mentally very taxing and strenuous for women and couples, right? Even if the guy is involved. And I said 20s is the right age to marry and have babies. And there's nothing wrong with the what I've mentioned, because 20s is the right age to have to actually have babies, and if you want to marry. And then she kind of starts off with, no, at home, Matag, you're 47, your opinion doesn't apply here. Talk to hundreds of men who like my response. I found this pretty childish and puerile for, someone who's as educated as Ash Arora is. And I said, men liking a message doesn't mean much. Surprise you. But was the argument, etc. And then, she got into, more of like a long narrative of a week of patriarchy, etc. Don't even want to marry. And I say, yeah, this is also a fact, by the way, right? Men of today actually don't want to marry due to multiple reasons, not just any other things. The laws are pretty skewed. The dating pool is getting narrower. Women are, going behind the top, let's say 10, 20% of the men. More men are passing out of colleges. They're actually, owning more houses in the US. And due to hypergamous, instant hypergamous behavior of women, the amount of people that they are, up and above them or up and across is the pool is getting limited, which also plays about. Nothing wrong with your choice, again, ladies, but it's calling out the facts. So then I said, your misandry is curable. And then she said, why would be in a happy misogyny patriarchy is incurable? I feel very sad for your wife and kids. At least I know I have wife and kids. That's the great part. I hope you also have, a lot of kids with your husband, Aishwarya. Congratulations in advance. Right now, I showed you the graph of fertility, and I also showed you this argument on why I probably am doing this topic. This is a I just want people to have a very clear understanding of what this means. Right? So first of all, this process is also quite expensive. In US, it could be tens of thousands of dollars, and you have to do 4 or 5 cycles. In each cycle, they are stimulating your ovary to produce more than one egg. One egg is the norm, that is God designed, or so nature designed woman's body. But we have just obviously pick the nature a little bit, and then we stimulate some hormones to make sure the ovaries can produce more eggs, which then is taken and I think cryogenically kept somewhere under some very low temperature for a long time, which then can be taken, thawed, and then you fertilize, and hopefully I think IVF process or everything is done to make sure you can have a baby much later in your life. Now, this process itself is quite tiring and cumbersome, apart from being more expensive. In India, it seems to be in the range of a few lakhs per cycle, and typically, I think a woman will go through maybe 3 to 4 cycles or 5 cycles. So I would expect that you can probably get it done in about maybe 10 to 15 lakhs, perhaps roughly. And in US, it could be, I don't know, 30, 40, $50,000. And I guess the money is not a big issue. Of course, the ladies and the women who are choosing to go through this are well aware of the cost implications, and in most cases, since you're prioritizing your career, you probably have money saved for this purpose. Plus, it's stored for your 5 years, 6 years. Now, of course, egg freezing and IVF is not a guarantee to have a baby. That's something that people should understand. It's not an insurance. It's a kind of a there's a high probability that you can have, maybe 60 to 70% probability, but there is also chances that you may not be able to have, because the quality of the egg over time might still have some issues due to thawing, or the I don't know what the medical reasons is, what I've read. But I think you should be aware of it. And secondly, this process itself is quite mentally taxing. I mean, imagine going to a hospital even for a small issue, like a cut or a bruise, or some kind of a small fracture or a hairline. Imagine the amount of effort and mental torture you go through by sitting in a hospital for half an hour, or just start being as a helper to your, let's say, to your relative in the hospital, and sitting for a couple of days. It's extremely hard, right, and mentally taxing. And secondly, life itself by design is pretty hard for most people. I mean, don't tell me, your life has been easy. I mean, everybody's life is pretty hard. And what we want, ideally, we would want is to avoid or control the variables, in the sense, at least reduce the, factors which will give you more hardships, right? So if I can have a baby naturally, I would obviously prefer that over, oh, I can have a baby later using egg freezing, IVF, etc. I'm going to spend 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, whatever the amount is, but I'll go through that pain later. I mean, be rational. I mean, what sounds more logical to you, right? This is something that people need to think through. It's like saying, oh, there are options. If the kidney fails, there is dialysis, so let me drink up and kill myself, or kill my kidney, for example. You wouldn't want to do that. That's not it's a valid decision. So I think these factors have to be kept in mind. And in fact, none other. So for some reason, these things are not highlighted, but I'll actually show you something. I don't know if the video plays, but let me see. This is Lolo Jones, who had posted some time back, or a couple of years back. She's an Olympic athlete, a wonderful, wonderful lady, but she kind of narrated the struggles and emotional trauma and torture she went through in the through the process of doing all this uh, egg freezing. But look at the pain she's going through. You can see her face, and genuinely, this lady wants to be a mother, right? I wish she became a mother, or she becomes a mother. I don't know. I haven't done a fact check on that, but look at the way she's crying. I don't want, it's very horrible to see women go through this kind of stuff pretty late in their life. It just becomes too late. I mean, the fact that you can have it all, right? I mean, you have to make a choice. Okay, I have career as my first priority, then your family life is going to suffer, whether even finding a boyfriend, or living with your spouse, or taking care of kids, or getting pregnant. All of that will get affected. That's a fact of life, and that's for both men and women. But women end up paying a slightly higher price for it, and I'm not denying that. That's how the world is. That's how it is designed. Now, I'm just saying, be very cautious of the attempts made. When people tell you that you have backup options, etc. Yes, these are backup options that you would want to avoid, and this should not be a first option. So if you're a person who wants to be a mother, wants to pass on your genes, uh, I mean, I've told you, I'm not saying that you should do at a certain age. I've told you the facts, that in your 20s and early 30s is probably the better time than regretting later by not being able to achieve these things. So that's pretty much what I wanted to speak about in this podcast, a quick and short one. And again, I have no moral, let's say, judging anyone on their choices, but I'm just telling women and the husbands who marry these kind of girls who are probably considering egg freezing as their first choice, that you have to be a little careful, and kind of make a very informed decision on what you're going to be going through, and that process is not going to be easy for you. That's it. I'll see you again this week with some other topic. See you. If you like the content, do share it with your friends, relatives, networks, colleagues, and do drop a like or a comment on what you think about my content. Thank you so much. See you soon.